Okay, it is now 6:30 p.m., Thursday, April 18th, and I'm calling the Newfane Selectboard to order. Let me just say, initially we have a long agenda with many items, so I would ask everyone to try to keep their whatever brief. First item on the agenda is our minutes of the April 4th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, corrections, additions of the minutes of April 4th.
I've got a couple of things that nobody else does.
Okay, go ahead.
On page 1, under the Windham County Sheriff's Department report, I'm wondering the last sentence, the records management system, was that meant to be the one that Pat and Maureen was trained in, or that's the new system for the sheriff's office?
It isn't totally clear here, and what he was talking about was he was saying
so
the
there's
records,
a new system
that the sheriff's, if you just insert the sheriff's, I know actually it's not the sheriff, it's the states, I think, that's changing. I don't quite recall.
He didn't specify.
All right, it's
I think he said something like the departments.
let's just say the departments.
New departments.
The departments, yeah. I think it actually was the sheriff's department that they're changing their system. So if you just insert the word departments between the word the and records, that would be more clear.
And
Okay.
under new business, the audit response, Chris, was that the letters were drafted in response to their recommendations for improvements on record keeping of the audit only? So,
I think if you just take out the word on record keeping, because it did cover some other things, no?
Yes, it did.
So just if you would delete on record keeping from that
Okay.
sentence.
that's,
I guess you don't have, yeah, on each other, okay.
and then on page 2, it seemed under the town vault lock change that there wasn't any of the town clerk's responses to issues in there. Like the town clerk would look into state statutes, and
That's correct.
so.
All right, so that should be stated, that
There
the
were
town
several.
clerk stated that she would
Look for state statutes.
look into, okay?
Yeah.
Look into state statutes
Or,
in this regard,
yeah.
okay?
Was there anything else on that?
Anything
No.
further on the April 4th? If there are any other changes or additions to the April 4th minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Passes well, it should be noted that Mike Fitzpatrick is not currently present. Okay, next order of business is the minutes for March 21st. And again, I'd entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
They have been already, Jim.
Yeah.
What is this? This is the fixing the motion, is that what
You
this is?
asked me to
Yes.
bring that up because you wanted to add a date on the letter.
Right, and I don't have in front of me the date it was. Is that, you don't
No,
have
I
it?
don't have it either.
Yeah, it's just the motion. If you look at, what page is that on, Kat? Well, I look up the thing, if you'd find the motion that we passed about my distributing the letter.
It was regarding the town, the town
That's-
meeting.
Yes.
On page 2 on the follow-up, maybe?
Town meeting follow-up, yes.
Yep.
Just through the second by Todd, and so it's just request of the town meeting, and let me just see how this has to be worded. If you put after, if you delete and to add the date of the letter, okay, and just put a cell town letter published in the Reformer on, And now the date, I'll try to find the date. That was the specific thing that was asked. And I'm sure I can find that. Well, I hope. Date received. And that was published on, here we go. Oh, I'm not connected, sorry. Waiting. Ah. And it looks like it was February. Oh shoot, this is not the. It's like February 16th. Say February 16th. Okay. All right. So that's any other. That's why I brought these up.
Right.
To just modify that, because the motion was to include the date of the bid.
So do we need?
So we do need a motion to amend those needed.
I move to amend the March 21st meeting to delete, to add the date of the letter and add there published in the Reformer on February 16th, 2013.
Great. Okay.
Seconded?
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And now we move on to the road foreman, road commissioners report. Todd?
Yeah, we're grading a lot of the roads every day now. Most of the mud season's over except for South Warwick Road. Probably be taking down some of the posted signs next week, with the exception of South Warwick Road. The crew did some coal patching on the Green Iron Bridge, Dover Road, and Auger Hole Road, and Mike took the backhoe and back dragged the lawn out here in the town office to get rid of the gravel and sand that was on it. The 09 Sterling, our favorite truck, was back to Patriot for an exhaust leak at the turbo and a heater issue, and we got it back. The heater still doesn't work, so it's got to go back again. The front mounted brake, we ended up replacing all the teeth in that. I got 4 prices, and EW Sleeper was the lowest price.
This is the new rake?
No, it's the old front mount that goes on the front
Okay.
of the car.
Oh, okay, it's a different rake.
Yeah. John Mack, myself, and Pat met with John Alexander, Mark Pickering, and Megan, but I don't know what her last name is, from V-Trans, about our annual state aid that the town receives. We also talked about paving grant, and John Alexander figured it would probably be somewhere around $160,000 for us this year. It's good news. We went and looked at River Road Bridge. That was bad news. We also looked at Hunter Brook Bridge number 2.
Yeah.
We're working on something up there, and he looked at Hickey Road Bridge and doesn't agree with the FEMA on that one either, so we're going to work on that some more. But the paving grant, and if we get a structures grant, it's going to have to be a 10% match, which paving would be no problem. We've got $115,000 of our own there, so looks like we're probably going to be paving almost 2 miles of South Warwick Road. River Road Bridge, I asked him to take a look at that again. He said now he's looked at it a little closer. Instead of $175,000, he thinks it's going to be more of a $300,000 repair. And the structures grants only go to $175,000, so that means the town would have to come up with $175,000.
Whoa.
So we need to put River Road Bridge in our capital plan for the next couple of years to get money enough to get that fixed.
Is it safe to ride on in the I'm sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt
it's
you.
posted at 16,000 pounds right now, no overweight, so. I could get a hold of state inspectors and ask them how bad it, I mean, the report didn't come back real good, but nobody said anything about closing it, so.
Okay.
I think you were just talked about one of the garage door cables, luckily, it wasn't lucky that it snapped, but it snapped, and luckily there was nobody standing under the door when it snapped because it came down with a crash. We had the door company fix that today, and he said the other doors all need cables too, they're all rusted from.
Hasn't this happened before? I seem to remember last year. Is it
Yeah,
just because
he
there's
fixed
so
one of the
many?
doors, the other 3 gotta have cables, he said.
I see.
Just the salt stuff that's over there in the winter gets into the cables and stuff. I've been playing phone tag with Brooks Mitchell on the way to the hall furnace. He knows where he need it fixed, but I gotta get hold of him so he could come do it.
Okay.
And we had a complaint on the River Road today that Pat gave me, and I called the lady, left a message on her answering machine. It wasn't about River Road, actually it was about Sawmill Road. Legitimate complaint, 'cause it was very rough. It needs quite a bit of work. So I called her back, told her we were planning on doing that tomorrow anyway, so that complaint has been addressed thanks to Pat sending that to me.
Great. Any motion to accept the Ormond Road Commissioners report?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. Discussion. So, in terms of the cables, I just do definitely think we need to get them all before some tragedy happens.
He's supposed to come back next week, do some more work on the doors.
Okay. Because I remember when one came down last year,
Yeah,
so
they come down fast and
obviously,
they come down.
that's very risky. And I would also ask that you do get River Road looked at because, we don't want to find out about
Right.
somebody falling through
You mean the bridge?
the bridge. Yes. Further discussion?
I'm just curious, Todd, is there a way of making sure that those cables get cleaned or oiled or something?
Well,
I
he
don't
said that-
understand how salt,
We spray them with penetrating oil,
yeah.
but we wash the trucks and stuff and probably wears off a little bit. But he said that they're having trouble with a lot of those cables in garages, but I think what I'm going to start doing is greasing them.
Yeah, I mean, it just,
Put some thick grease on them, at least on the bottom. Yeah, they're lucky. I wasn't there
Oh.
yesterday when it snapped, but lucky.
Okay. Any further discussion on the road foreman, road commissioners report? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the report as written?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Yeah, okay. The motion carries. Okay. The next order of business is the scheduled members of the public. And the scheduled members of the public is the town office improvement report, and I see Gunther's.
Yep. 3 of our members went down the hellhole and examined the substructure of the building and discovered a lot of deficiencies, like the carrying beam is cracked. Quite a few of the joists are either cracked, eaten by bugs, or rotted away, and things like that. Since we want to do a thorough job, a correct job, an efficient job, we request that we be allowed to hire a structural engineer to go down there and make an assessment of the whole substructure as to feasibility of repair, how to repair it, and if it's reparable, to repair it correctly with the correct strength beams and things like that. So we're requesting that we be allowed to hire Phil Savoy, Philsavoy. He comes from Westminster. He's currently working with Vernon.
I'm going to stop you before you go further. Is this likely to cost $2,000 or more?
No.
Okay, then continue.
Okay. He's currently working with Vernon, and he has worked with Cottons, and they recommend him highly.
Okay. I would discussion or motion by a member of the board?
Make a motion, we authorize the committee to hire whatever he said.
Phil Savoy, Savoy.
Just do make sure that it's clear,
Under $2,000.
because otherwise it has to go to bid.
Yep.
Okay, so that the motion's been made. Is there a second?
seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Again, I'd like to thank the committee for the work that you're doing. I have received kind of an interim report from Priscilla. There's a lot of work. I just want to also add a couple things. I did pass on forward to Priscilla information about the Department of Health's fact sheet on asbestos removal, to be
That's gotta be
extremely careful in terms of that and follow all those procedures. And the other thing is just, we're just very pleased with your going ahead and doing the work and figuring this stuff out, or I am. I should speak for myself. And really just want to see it thoroughly discussed. The only other thing I would add is I don't see a discussion directly about the water, and I assume that is part of what
Part of the deal.
that you're taking on.
We've got to figure out the initial function of the cistern, which I understand was to provide water for the school. It was built after the building. And the ducts have to be adjusted. They're too big for the system. And things like that.
All right, and just to report, I did get a phone call from a gentleman who was saying that the critical things are the water levels. The water level,
Right.
in terms of what the what do you call it? The
Water table.
water table.
Right.
The water table, the water here, and the water where it's emptying out as being
Right.
critical factors. And I'm just passing that on as
And just a reminder, and I reminded
citizen.
Priscilla, we've already had Joe Masha do transit checks on the water, and Priscilla has that report. So,
So there's some.
yeah, you probably don't remember, but we had that done.
No, I do remember.
No.
We're
I mean, so
deliberately
it's-
progressing slowly, so the whole
Okay.
thing will be done correctly.
Good.
Yeah.
Not slowed
That's
down.
what we want. That's what we want, and we really appreciate the committee taking that on.
And we haven't got any further suggestions from the manager.
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do?
Yes, this is for you.
Oh, okay, thank you. I think we'll invoke his suggestion to ask him not to send any more.
I don't know what you're referring to. Will.
He said in one of the letters,
Who's
he
he?
said,
Henry.
Pinckney.
Oh, okay, all right.
In
That's
one of the-
between you and Henry. I don't. We don't have to. I don't have to know.
No.
That's fine. All right. Well, then, thank you very much,
Okay.
Gunther. We really appreciate the work that the committee is doing. There are no more scheduled members, and the unscheduled members of the public who wish to speak. Yeah, sure.
So should I wait until you finish with the other scheduled?
Well, we are
aspects, or-
finished with the scheduled. We're up to unscheduled, so.
Oh, okay,
I-
good business. Okay, Julian Cisse from South Newfane, and so I wanted to check in on where things were at with the AT&T cell tower in placing it over in South Newfane. And this week I heard a piece on Vermont Public Radio, and so I've made a couple copies of the text of that, and the title of it is New Technology Extends Cell Coverage to Rural Areas. Did anyone happen to hear or read or so forth? So I don't know how much time you'll allot me, but basically there was a test run of this new smaller cell technology in the Northeast Kingdom, and the whole piece is about the success of it, and that instead of having to place cell towers, that in and of itself creates problems because we have so many dips and valleys and the mountainous terrain as well as the economics, that these are small cell systems that are put on existing phone poles, utility poles, structures, and they have much smaller coverage, but because they're able to actually go around the bends and up and down the hills and valleys, that they would give more efficient and consistent coverage than a cell tower that will miss certain sections. And we know from the presentations that were given by the AT&T representative that we're not going to get 100% coverage. So I made copies of the VPR comment.
Okay.
The company that they're working with is called Coverage Co. And their website shows that they are out of Virginia. And they were contracted, they won an award from the Vermont Telecommunications Association, so the VTA, and the chief of that, Chris Campbell, has written a letter praising them for their work and their satisfaction with it. So I'm going to leave you the copies. I don't want to take too much of the time here, but I guess I wanted to find out where are we at with this process, and I just, for the last few weeks, I'm sure you've seen or read or heard, in a few other communities in Grafton, or Jamaica, I'm sorry, in Jamaica, where the community was not happy with where VTEL was going to place their cell tower pieces. They backed down. VTEL did not continue with that. I think there was a place, in Grafton, the same thing, is similar. So it's almost like every week I read where there's a community that's saying, wait a minute, this isn't working for us, the people of the community, and VTEL has listened to that. It is alluded to this from Chris Campbell about how there were some contracts entered into this with VTEL and that they did not come to the same conclusions, and so Chris Campbell is in fact promoting this company, Coverage Co., because he likes the results. So I thought, I don't want to just wait until I see a big truck driving a girder up Parish Hill Road. Where are we at that
where we're at, just to answer that question, is that the PSB has ruled, as you know, that they have permission to do so. So it really is, they have the right to build a tower.
But do we have any rights to present other options, alternatives? That in fact the head of the Vermont Telecommunications Association is also saying this.
There are a lot of avenues one could pursue. One could go to AT&T. One could go to the state officials and try to just drum up a kind of pressure on AT&T. As far as our participation in it, we've done what we are legally able to do. We did do one further thing which was what we were talking about in going over the minutes, which is just that the letter that I had written that the town meeting had asked to become you moved it.
Yeah.
So I did distribute it to all our representatives who are involved. I also mentioned to them that I hadn't heard from any of them, and one wrote back only to say that he was passing it on to some other committee that he thought was relevant to, and that's the full extent of the reply I've received. I did have a conversation with Dick Merrick, with our local representative, which was a positive conversation, I would say. But that's the extent of our ability to do anything about this, strictly speaking.
I know, we appreciate
so
that. Is it possible that, that if I were to send this same information to our representatives, in fact, today I just happened, because I went to the Coverage Co. website to check it out, what they have to say. I just made a phone call to find out, who was doing what and so forth. I talked to a woman, and then I had to go off for the afternoon. I got a call back from the CEO who said he's sending me some information about what they're doing. They do list Newfane as one of the towns. There's a bunch of the towns.
Well, and so that maybe that what still is we have not yet received a direct application or copy of application to PSB for the VTEL site, and that in fact it did seem that VTEL had modified their plan for where they were going to propose it. So that will probably be the next thing we are likely to hear, is that they will come here for recommendation. That would be another point in time in which we could potentially participate, or it may be that site is fine with people to the extent that it isn't necessary. But that's at least I'm just speaking for myself in this case.
But it seems like VTEL, this other company, are at least willing to take into consideration the local impact. And I know you have done a tremendous job in it, both as a board and me personally, in voicing our opinions. And so would the board mind that if I sent this off to our officials, contact me a little bit more and said, hey, wait a minute, before we run into something, that we're going to have a tower that may not be as effective as what I We'll
Right,
leave you the copies,
okay.
and if I can just give you those, and then I'll
Thank you.
stop, and I'll say thank you. And
Thank you for your help.
if they, the CEO left me a message, I don't have a copy for everybody,
Right,
but
I'll
I'm
do it.
here and here. So the first one is the VPR article that I printed,
Okay.
so it's
Great.
from a couple days ago. This is from Chris, and this is from the actual company's website, and it's a press release from last June, but it was written by Christopher Campbell, the head of Vermont Telecommunications.
That's great.
Great, thank
But
you.
just to say to you,
Yeah.
Daryl, you absolutely have the right
Right,
to
to
contact, you can contact your, federal
Right,
representatives, you can contact the state legislators.
Right.
You could organize your own,
Right, I understand. I just don't want to irritate the board in that,
You're not
you
irritating
put in
Well,
so many
we-
hours and
but
thoughtful meetings of
this
this.
is new
But this is totally new.
Yeah,
to us.
So, okay, thank you very much.
thank
Appreciate it.
you. All right. The next order, is there any other unscheduled members of the public who wish to speak?
Yeah, I'm going away from the table and I now the town clerk. I'd like to present to the rest of the board a suggestion that I have in terms of using preservation funds that come to the town, $1 for each $10 page of reporting, to be used to pay my assistant town clerk because she does the vast majority of her work in terms of that preservation. So I have a letter and supporting information for each one of you. I'll go quickly over the information so we won't spend too much time. But I did my due diligence. I contacted Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and there is absolutely no law against using these funds for these kinds of wages. And then Susan Hogwart of Wilmington has used preservation funds for wages for someone working on preserving the land records, and I have email information from her, and she also had gone through VLCT. Secondly, I wanted to know if digitizing and not microfilming the documents was part of preservation. So I contacted our state archivist, Trevor Lewis, and he said that and Trevor Lewis is the records analyst and local records program coordinator for the State of Archives and Records Administration division, really, of the Secretary of State's office. And it's to Trevor that the town clerks go for how long do we retain records, etc. And he said up until Tropical Storm Irene, probably digitization would not have been included. But after Irene, the then state archivist Gregory Sanford indicated a shift in thinking. And I've included a handout to you that gives the change in his, meaning Gregory Sanford's, point of view, which says that, as Irene reinformed us, distributed copies, legal copies held in more than one site are prudent preservation and disaster mitigation sets. Had that water gone up much further in, it would have started seeping, had it come up to the first floor, it would have gone into the vaults. So having said that, I also wanted to make sure that this was acceptable to our auditors, and so I called Rick, I always want to say Sovereign, but Brigham, and he said that really all I need to do is get a record in the minutes from the select board that you approve. It's taking money out of the preservation fund. You have as a copy the account ID as a deposit that shows the restoration fund. We can take that out, put it into the general fund to be recorded to offset Deidre's wages. So I anticipate that by the end of the fiscal year, it might be $2,100, which certainly is in that fund. And I also included an article from the Brattleboro Reformer. And I took it offline, Vernon Preserving Land Records. I highlighted for you, it says the select board backed this effort. They didn't have COT systems, which we do, but they have a Massachusetts company who came in And then if you turn the pages over, it says the company will be paid through a restoration fund that is fed by document recording fees. So I would love it if you would be willing to have a motion that I'm able to transfer those funds into, which I would have to figure out the amount prior to June 30th and have those go into the general fund so that we can retain Deidre, who is highly capable, well-trained, and probably spends 90% of her time doing this kind of work. Questions?
Questions. I'm seeing a figure. I'm not where.
Oh, maybe I didn't highlight
I don't
where-
see exactly where the money is in the fund.
See, for every,
You're right. I see that, but the
That.
total.
oh, this is just an example of my deposit.
So then what I'm not seeing here is how this gonna add up to $2,100.
Well, it's because I've been having this money put in since 2009. So I don't have, this is just simply, all you have there is one bank deposit.
Okay, so that's just the. So
Oh,
this
that's
is
not
sort
the
of
total amount of
That's
Oh,
not this
heavens,
total.
no, this is, that's what I put in last week. This is,
Do you have an estimation of what's in the fund?
yeah, I do, but I don't, I'm assuming it's probably 2,500 or something like that.
Okay.
Because-
Where
Somewhere-
does that show up? Where does that show up in our financial?
All I can say is that's one of the things that I said as a select board member that I want as a report. This is a dedicated fund. And so,
Well, it should, we could,
Right.
we
and
should
it's
be able to see
dedicated
it.
to
in
preservation.
here.
It was state law for preservation of documents.
But we don't have it down here anywhere in our reports, though, right?
Correct. And that's why I said I want, it needs to be a printout.
So we should probably get to talk to Maureen about it. How that's gonna work, right?
When I talked to Maureen, it just simply all she needs from us, or from you as a select board, is an okay to do this, and she knows. I mean, she deposits it specifically into that account, and that account number is what she would take it out of and put it into the general fund. And truly it'll look as though the town clerk's budget for the assistant town clerk is over when it comes to reporting for the annual town report. But the select board can say that that was offset by monies that really are collected and by state statute to go for preservation of documents.
Well, currently, you've still got Deidre working, so we're running 150.33% over budget.
Correct.
Are you
I'm including.
Are you
that.
want us to retroactively pay back that to
Right.
zero balance the budget as well?
Mm-hmm.
And can you give me a little bit more of a feel on the town clerk records expense fund?
Maybe that's a different, do you see that as relevant to this particular motion? Because I certainly can.
Yes, I do. I mean,
Okay.
I'm wondering what we're using, what's the $3,500 for in
That
that
pays
fund?
Cox Systems every month, $223. It buys all of our dog tags. It buys our paper. It buys the labels.
Oh, it's a normal.
So it's the normal expenditure from the town clerk. That's not for wages or anything like that.
Okay, got it. All right.
I don't know. I'm not getting any sentiment from members of the board, which is what I need.
I'm trying to calculate in my mind what to do. If you've only got $2,500 in this preservation fund, and we're going to retroactively pay back. See, currently you're still running over budget on Deidre.
Correct.
Now, technically, this fund might well pay back to zero balance this budget item and get you through to July 1st, in which case
I then have,
you are, you're going to use her as that's your intention, really, is to try to use this as your stopgap to keep her going through the summer?
for the 2,000 that I have for the assistant town clerk
Okay,
next year, yes.
that's the idea. Okay.
But if it comes down to when we've got the money and we can continue to work on it, that would be my my suggestion, because we're getting, you know, we've gone from, we're in book 109, and we're, in going forward, we're in book 131. So we've already taken that many years of digitizing, and it's stored 3 different places in Ohio. So if anything happens to these records,
There's copies of it.
there are copies of them.
Well, I guess, I don't, Todd, you?
Personally, I'm not for it, but
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Point of order?
Yes. Ms. Crisella is now a member of the public. She can join the board and make a motion, is that correct?
That's not a point of order,
What is it?
Joe. Is it a
I'm
point
looking
of
for
information
information.
or just a question?
I'm looking for information from the chair.
Yes. I'm have to think about it, to tell you the truth.
Well,
What I'm a little, I'm not clear. I don't know. Once somebody's kind of stepped aside and saying, which I'm not quite, you know, I don't even understand quite why this didn't come up and there's a scheduled item on the agenda for it. But in any case, I guess that would be possible. Yeah, I'll make a ruling that it's allowable if you wish to, now having made this statement as town clerk, you can rejoin the board, and if you wish, make a motion yourself. If you feel you should recuse yourself from that because of that dual role, that's your decision.
May I speak?
Yes, John Carr? Go.
You may have to help me with this. Deidre came in as an employee trainee of Vermont Associates, and I was the person who brought Vermont's Associates into this office when Jahari was the town clerk. And I worked under that fund for, what, 4 or 5 months, and then Deidre and Virginia came in. I think if you look at the amount of money that means that they have contributed towards the work done here in the office, what would it come to? $50,000
I figured
in
it out, it's
salary?
about $61,000 in the last.
And Vermont Associate,
Years that-
keeping those slots open as far as here, part of the point of that is that if people can in any way be put into a paid position outside of Vermont Associates, it helps them justify their putting people here. So my point, what I'm trying to say, and obviously I'm not being very clear, I'm not great at speaking, is that I think one thing it would demonstrate to them appreciation, it would motivate them to keep someone here, and you know, they can send people here not just for the town clerk, but
Right.
for Maureen or for the current secretary. So I think that it would be a good thing if we could do whatever it is to support Deidre and keep her here.
Okay, thank you. So going back to Joe's thought, Gloria, it's up to you.
Can I ask one more question?
May I?
Yes?
Since we're not totally clear how much money is involved, why don't we table this and have Gloria come back at the next meeting with a full accounting? Then we all know what it's all about.
I actually share that thought, Gunther. I agree with it personally, but that's one vote. And I would, since I'm just seeing this now, it's a lot to sort through and think through. I would like to see what the fund looks like, just to know, so we know that piece of information. That would be satisfactory to me, but I'm not sure whether it'd be satisfactory to others. So that said,
well, I will make a motion that we table it until the next meeting when we have.
Excuse me, you can't table it, it's not a motion yet.
well, we could move the
No,
discussion forward.
Gunther's, I understand what he's trying to do, but when you table, it means something that's already been on the floor, already
It
been on the
is.
board. Then you can table it.
It's okay,
It's a
Joe.
discussion.
It's okay. We're just
I do
discussing.
have one
We're
more
just
I'm
saying-
discussing, I'm part of the discussion, thank you. You guys are doing a wonderful job. I don't come here very often, I may be out of line, but I do.
It's okay. We're not tabling a motion. We're just saying we're postponing full discussion and decision to the next meeting. Yes. What's your name?
Hi. My name's Faith Martin. I don't live in Newfane.
Uh-huh.
I live in Putney. I came on behalf of Good Records in the state of Vermont. I walked in late. I just came out of work, so correct me if I'm wrong. The question is whether to keep assistants in the office and where the money's coming from to pay them. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
And so it's one of the questions.
Well, that's kind
That's
of the
our
big one,
question,
really,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, the archiving of the records, I can't tell you how important that is. I have done title research. I'm a title abstractor. I've worked for a lot of attorneys in the state. I've worked for about 40 of them. I've been to every town clerk's office with the exception of Franklin County and 6 in Chittenden. So I've seen all the best and I've seen all the worst. And it's really vital that you keep help here. You need good records, because if you have a problem in that vault with recording documents, you're opening the town up for lawsuits. There's been times in the past where I personally have come in to do a mortgage and went back and told the attorney in the title company, well, that, you know, this mortgage company's in first place. Well, lo and behold, they weren't. And we were luckily able to go back in one of the assistants they had, which, you know, was thank God for her, because she was able to dig out the document and find it. Saved you guys a lawsuit, saved the attorney's butt, saved my job. And the title company and the bank was happy. As far as money goes, if you've got an organization that may be willing to pay part of that salary, my question back.
No, we don't.
And
We
at this
don't.
point, the Vermont
Okay.
Associates, he's no longer working
Okay,
for
all
Vermont
right.
Associates.
My question is, have you put it before town meeting? Have you
Yeah.
figured out what it might cost for that position and asked,
Okay.
you know, your townsfolk whether they'd be willing to put a quarter in or a piece or whatever to pay for that position? Because whether you know it or not, a town clerk's role isn't dog licenses, isn't selling fishing licenses, isn't doing motor vehicles, because most of that stuff, with the exception of the dogs, done online. His or her position is to protect the town from liability, keep your real estate records all up to date, because without the real estate, you haven't got a town. Without the listers, you don't have a town clerk. And with all due respect, without either of those, you guys will be sitting there.
That would be a
There's-
benefit. as
Yeah,
far as
well,
I
that's
can
true.
see.
But it's no different than having a chair of the board of listers or
Jeez.
a select board chair.
Anyway, no, I understand.
So,
Faith, I
okay.
think your point has been made, and we've
Okay.
been appreciated.
But it's very, very vital.
Appreciate your comment.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think what I'm hearing is that we do need a little more information. We do need time to digest what, at least this is, I'm speaking for myself, to digest what you've done. I don't hear a motion yet from the board. So my thought was, if you could provide the information on the fund, any numerical information, and allow us to digest this, then in the next meeting we could have a more knowledgeable discussion of it.
Chris, you had a question.
I do. What threw me a little bit off is we have two separate and distinct things, as I understand it. One is the preservation of the records, which is where you want to pull this money out of a segregated fund. That's what that fund's for. And did I not understand you as far as saying that Deidre is the assistant? What I guess I'm trying to say is, under statute and under the budget, we have an allocated line item for an assistant for you.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm confused because Deidre currently is being paid under the assistant portion. So technically, I'm not sure, or even legally maybe, can the funds go?
Yes, they can. That's what
Because
I talked to
you
Rick
basically,
Brigham, and he said you pull with a motion from the board, or even just in the minutes. That can be done. A couple $1,000s like this, as an auditor, he wouldn't even really looked at it. But it would be very specified, and then told to the voters of the town of Newfane that they are putting not one penny into getting thousands of dollars. I mean, because we've already collected that money. And you would see there's also a handout from the...
But I'm a little unclear about what the what if we're putting money continually into the fund, what is the concept of what that money
to
is?
preserve the land records. We were supposed to have been collecting funds from 1995. We did not. This town, for some reason, did not follow the state of Vermont's law. When I came in 2009, through the connections, I found out we're supposed to be able to do that. And so I finally came in, and the select board at that point said, yeah, we're supposed to be doing that, so we did. I also came in when they raised it from $8 a page to $10 a page, where probably 3/4 of the town's select board allowed the town clerk to keep that, and so they're getting $2 to $3 a page for this purpose. The sitting select board said, no.
Where does the money come from?
Every single page that gets recorded, your mortgage, your deeds, etc., every single page has a $10 recording fee.
It's a fee that
That
whoever
is
puts
paid,
it in.
and it comes through the town
Okay.
clerk's
Okay.
records. So you will also see, Chris, I did, on the very bottom of this email from Trevor Lewis would be the last page. There are 2 responses, Susie from Wilmington and Doreen, who both say that we did use the money for wages.
Okay. Well, it just, if we could just, I mean, I don't know, again,
No,
With-
I'm fine. It's just somebody needs to let me know what more. I covered the legal aspect.
all I'm asking for, I'm sorry, Gloria, with all due respect, this it came up, and you have to understand a little of how it came up, because essentially things went forward with Deidre prior to discussion with the board, and that is a fact. Beyond that is that this is the first I'm seeing of what is obviously a fairly complex thing, and I would like to understand it
Absolutely.
myself.
I understand.
That's all I'm saying. I don't know what anyone else is saying, but that's what I'm saying. So I'd like a week, till our next meeting to do it, and we're not even saying, as far as I at least have heard, that you must cease to employ her in the meantime. We're just simply saying, let's review it. The one thing I would like to know is what is in the restoration fund. That's the
Maureen
one
gave that
piece.
to me a few weeks ago, but I
That's the
couldn't put
one
my
piece
hands on it.
of actual information I'd
So if
like
there's-
you to collect.
Yeah,
but
if
other than
there's
that-
anything else that you need me to do before the next board meeting, if you could let
Right.
me know,
Sure.
I would appreciate that.
Is that acceptable to everyone? Okay, thank you. I'm still not quite clear why you didn't, we have it as a listed item on new business.
But this is a request for funds and
It's not, so this is a different thing? This new town clerk assistant, it's a different piece of new business?
Well, since I don't know what that was to be about, and personally as a town clerk, I would probably recuse myself, and you could do your discussion, and then you could ask me to come
All
back.
right, so that I can scratch from the agenda. All right, next, any other unscheduled members of the public which can speak? Okay, hearing none, moving forward. The next item of business is the approval, or whatever, vote on approval of the Marlboro Morris Ale Association, which is planning to have their event when are they planning to have their event? 30th May 26th. They have this is the 38th annual, and they have previous. Is there a motion to approve the Morris Ale's request to hold their event on the Newfane? It's been moved.
Second.
And second, is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously of members present. The next issues coming up are zoning concerns. The first of which is the Beach Lane issues. Merle, do you want to walk us through? So I'm recognizing Merle Tessier, our zoning administrator, to explain to us what the issues are and what the board needs to consider.
I was referred to Beech Tree Lane by Mr. Wayne Cole, complaining about a neighbor putting up a porch roof without a permit. So I made a site visit and determined that, yes, there was a porch roof, there was no permit, but he was advised by a previous ZA that he didn't need a permit. I told him that he did. He made out the application, he got the permit.
So he did make out the application
He made out
and
the application,
received the
applied
permit,
for the permit, and got it.
sort of after the fact. is
After
that
the
what-
fact.
Okay.
But that wasn't his fault.
That's right. I put it in the letter that I sent to him and to Mr. Hove that he was advised improperly. I think it was in 2008 that he would not need a permit.
Okay.
While I was there, the party who had the complaint against him made a complaint against his neighbor.
Ah, I see. So that's just the background of this.
And
Okay.
giving you the background.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think you have the email which lists the
Right.
items that I found. Some of these items fall outside of my jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
I did some research on the decks, and somehow one of the previous administrators had given him permission to enclose the decks. So that kind of took the wind out of my sails on that item. But
Okay.
he does have a storage building in the backyard that straddles the property line. So he's on his neighbor's property and clearly doesn't adhere to the sideline and rear line.
Excuse me, do we have that copy, John? Or am I the only one not seeing it?
No, I'm.
These were conversations back and forth.
In emails, I
In
think.
emails. And
I,
I'd be happy to make a copy.
could you make a
He was-
copy
He
for
was just
everybody?
saying,
Yeah.
and I'm going,
No,
Yeah,
you
no,
don't.
these were
You
the
don't. I'm looking at who
prior
was CC'd. I was sent to me, and I didn't know what to do with it at first, and I actually did copy our attorney because the word lawsuit was mentioned, and but our attorney did not respond to me.
If this is interesting, we'd be sued for not doing something
Right.
rather than doing something.
sins of omission.
But let's make sure everybody sees this because it really hasn't been distributed to everyone as far as I can tell. But let's starting with there are 8 items on this list. You will see it. The first is the deck, and you're saying the deck is sort of a non-issue
It's a
because it
non-issue at
was
this point.
in fact approved.
Yes.
Okay, so let's make sure everybody can
Thanks,
see the 8. It's the list of 8 items that we're talking about here, and these are all, just to be clear, these are all on the allegation is that the Mr. Hogue is violating these things. Okay. So the second thing I see on the list is accumulated rubbish piled in a utility trailer in the front yard. And what is the situation with that?
The history on that is he was paid by an individual on Dover Road to properly dispose of this rubbish. So it's been in his front yard in a utility trailer for something almost 2 years. And I was lucky, the day I was up there was cool and the wind was blowing the other way. The neighbors do say that the stench is overwhelming and the rats are no fun.
Should we go to executive session, so it tells us maybe a legal issue?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point,
Yeah.
Todd. I'm sorry, I don't want to, force everybody else to wait. Can you wait till we get to that, to later in the session, so that we can have it as an executive session, since there have been legal issues raised?
Right.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to postpone it till an executive session after our regular meeting, which should hopefully,
Make sure it's not past my bedtime.
You were already past Todd's, I'm sure. Okay, but if you don't mind, I would just very much appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think that's a very good suggestion. Okay. The next item of business is reconciliation. I'm not sure what the detail on that is. I do know what we did say, which was that we would hire someone to do reconciliation. I'm not sure that's what that refers
Is
to.
that something that you asked?
I'm-
It's been asked,
All right, if
That's what a
it's me,
select board
if it's me, then what I want is that we do have, we had said we would hire someone to do a second reconciliation. We haven't actually, we did say it for next year, but it does seem like whether we should be doing it ongoing. It was one of the findings in the audit, and it does seem like a good idea to go ahead and do.
Yeah.
And we had suggested Lynn Forrest would be able to do that. I do know that I had talked with Marilyn Distelberg, and she wanted to make sure that once the audit was finished, that things were in kind of lined up, because you had mentioned having Rick come in to do this, to do that, and whoever it is really got to understand that we had an email from Maureen that said, where Neil Pelsu said it was, in here and out there, that's a bank doing, it's not hers. So, anyway, I would suggest if we're going to do that we talk to Lynn.
I would like to comment on this.
Go ahead.
I first would like to say that we have stated in the responses to the audit that we will deal with this because we must.
Mm-hmm.
So we should have a check and balance system. And I think I spoke to Maureen today about it. I think what I'd like to get is a little more detail on this whole idea of it's the bank statement problem. I think there should be a mechanism to get into NEMRIC and have someone for a half an hour, 45 minutes a month, do the bank statement reconciliations for this town. It shouldn't be that difficult. I know other towns do it.
And you can give examples of other towns that do that.
Sure. Just your next...
Going into NEMRIC and...
Oh, wait, let's not get a...
No, wait, stop right there. Yes, we need to... Well, that's my point. What I want to see happen is that we bring this out. The treasurer should be helping us make sure that this recommendation is met. And I think the first step in this is discussing it with Maureen, and we'll try to figure out a way to make it happen. There should be no reason that this should be some laborious issue where somebody even, such as Neil Pelsu, says, wow, this is really convoluted. That's not a good thing. When you say our books are convoluted, that raises a red flag for me. It's just a simple matter of taking our bank statements and doing it. I think Maureen ultimately will be instrumental in helping us as a board be able to figure out who we can get to do that and get it done.
No. Gloria, did you wish to speak on?
I guess what I would say right now is, can we invite Maureen to the next meeting and present it because part of what I've wanted to see is, the big picture. It's almost like, can we, if this does this, this does this. And so, yeah, I mean, it will be done, and it's not that it's impossible to do.
Right.
But
it shouldn't be at all impossible. I think it's a matter, really what I see happening here is there's a lot of things that have been just done a certain way, and things are a little bit different because the amount of money is going through this ledger. But the biggest single thing I find is the inability for people willing to work with each other. There's just way too much of this going on when there's no reason for it.
John, I would suggest that's really not the...
yeah, sure, you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's my opinion.
Well, anyway, it's been stated, it's fine. But does anyone have any objection to the notion that we go ahead and invite Maureen to the next meeting to
No.
discuss the reconciliation
That's right.
process? All right, so Pat, if you would invite Maureen to our next meeting specifically to discuss how we would go about doing the second reconciliator.
Now, what do you mean by a second reconciliation?
Well, she reconciles, Maureen reconciles them herself, but it's
Yes, but I
someone
mean,
doing it, that's what I mean by
Yeah.
second. Okay, the next item is the county tax, which is really just an informational message that we did receive, which I passed on to Maureen about what the county tax is for this year. It doesn't honestly mean a great deal to me. But each of the members of the select board did receive a copy, I believe, and in your packet, so you can just see what it is this year as opposed to others. I think, what I wish I knew offhand, which I'm afraid I don't, is how that translates into a, it says the whole sum is 14,000,
440.
and is that for what period? That says fiscal year. I don't know how that stands with what we actually budgeted, because we do budget that item. If anybody could quickly get it, but I just, it really is just informational in any case. We don't have a lot of choice about paying our county tax.
Right.
Okay. The next item business is getting a fireproof locked file drawer for those documents that are basically select board related or that are not considered in the town clerk's purview, which would be, I believe that applies to titles for the trucks and other equipment, and possibly anything else that we feel as a select board should be locked up. So I don't know if we have do estimates on that.
Yes, I have, that's in my report that I'm gonna give.
Well, why don't you go ahead now and to cover
Okay,
that
I have
period
looked
portion
into
of.
2 file drawers. There will be one for the treasurer and one for myself, and there'll be 2 drawers in each cabinet. They are fireproof, they are 1-hour fire retardant, UL classified, with explosion and impact resistant at $1,025
Each or?
each. Yeah, and that's not,
Now
that's
those
very
are,
inexpensive.
those are, they each have 2 drawers, is
They
that?
each have 2 drawers
Do you,
with keys.
okay,
And I asked the locksmith for suggestions, and he said not to get one that he needed to smash the lock to get into it. So the key is the way to go, and not the combination,
now
which is cheaper.
the question is, do you have a sense, Pat, of how much quantity? In other words, is there a reason why does the treasurer does not currently have a lock? I'm just wondering if this could be shared as opposed to
Personnel files. mostly.
personnel files. Okay, all right. So those really shouldn't be accessible to anyone except select board. It's just it's $2,050 that isn't allocated.
And we can wait if you want to wait until after.
Well,
Yeah, see,
I don't want to wait
I
until
brought up-
after we need them.
Well, I brought up budgeting for those at our budget meetings, but it didn't go anywhere. So,
Well,
you know,
that would
July
be next
1st,
year
yeah.
anyway. We kind of are needing them now. I would entertain a motion that we purchase these, that we purchase the two drawers.
Coming out of what funding?
I don't know, I'll throw that back to you, coming out of what funding? I'm just suggesting a motion. Our job is to manage the town, and we'll find the line item it's gotta come out of, but I'm surprised that that sort of it would just be thrown back at me. What What would someone else's suggestion be?
I'm still saying there's a big. I want to know what the fire rating on that big old gray safe is right there, and if I don't understand why we might not be able to drill that thing and put a.
Well, we can use it now. It's not that it can't. That there is that other alternative. That is, we could use the thing as it stands now, and there are two issues.
Yeah.
Okay. One is, do the files that the administrative assistant have and the files that the treasurer have need to be different access? In other words, is it acceptable to the board, really, that they be shared? Do you follow me? And that as it stands now, neither of them are in locked
Yeah,
spaces.
and I think
I'm okay with it.
personnel records might but be both offices
Right.
anyway. That's
Right.
the idea.
Okay. So that's first question one. Second, but just to be clear, we could lock this now. What they warned us was that if the lock breaks, then there will be a serious cost to get into the
Exactly.
vault. But there is no reason, we don't have to do anything to use it now. So we could begin to use it now and just know that we will incur a cost if the
Well, I know, my understanding is if you lock that, that's the best fire rating on
Yes,
that.
and I'm sure
the
it's got
likelihood is we won't maybe be able to open it again.
The worst problem is that, that if it failed, we
Yeah.
would have to,
Yeah.
we would incur an expense at that time.
Would that be expense be more than just buying 2 filing cabinets?
I think so. I think it was over $1,000, kind of, and I think so.
But not necessarily, but the problem is that then you both have to get it broken into and buy the filing cabinets. So,
That's what I mean. Are we better off just buying filing cabinets and not have to get that broke into because the lock screws up?
So my alternative thought was, let's dismantle the ability to lock that safe. But maybe they could drill that out so it could never be locked. And if those doors are closed,
but they really should, but I'm sorry to
would there
interrupt
be a
you.
fire rating?
It's not only the fire, it is really our personnel record should be locked. In other words, this is a public room that people come into,
But-
it should be locked.
Do you not have any keys for any of these file cabinets in there?
No?
And I'm just going to suggest that it might cost us $25 to $40 to get a new lock put on.
They're not fireproof.
Right.
But is it the personnel files right now that are the concern to be locked or to never go up in flames?
Both, I would think.
A lot of the documents that we're dealing with right now, Gloria, are we don't want them to go up in flames.
Well, I understand the
That's-
FEMA materials, absolutely.
Right.
But it just seems curious that there would be that much stuff right now to consider getting 2 of them.
Why can't we use the vault that we have?
The vault's accessible 40 hours a week. And I will come down and open it at any other time that somebody needs to. So it's absolutely, it's fire proof. And if somebody wanted to in the vault, I've got some really ancient file cabinets in there, but if they wanted things locked so that nobody else could get at them, that could be arranged.
Oh, there are additional, but you would have access. But you could,
No,
you
not
should.
if I- not
Yeah,
if-
that's all right.
Not if I had.
Anyway, but you could actually have locked cabins within the vault,
Yes.
and do you have them, or they're
Yeah,
in
they're
there
in there.
already?
Yeah, one got locked and I had to have somebody come and unlock it.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, for the time being.
I understand.
With, this not being
I
budgeted.
still don't know why anybody else can't have a combination of that vault. That's so childish that I can't believe it.
Well, I'm sorry, Todd, but that's. I don't. Just the word. It's not. It's a little personal. But
Childish.
yeah. That's
I think you remember the community, you
Yes.
have very, people would not be happy to know that you were spending over $2,000 when you have other means that you could lock
That's
them
right.
up and secure them.
That's right.
I mean, how do other members feel?
Anyway,
And we sort of
we
have
gotta-
consensus
We gotta
among
vote,
the
why
city.
not use it?
Yeah, I guess there is no motion on the floor. We're just talking at the moment. I guess my own feeling is that the limitation on the time is not so severe. We do have a limit on the amount of stuff that we need to put in there, and we don't have a line item to put it on. And we did discuss it, in fact, on the budget, and we didn't, I mean, I think it actually was sort of a mistake that we didn't include it in the budget, but point of fact, we didn't. And that failing a stronger reason, I think probably we should say that those things, the personnel files should be in there. There are certain treasurer files that should be in there. That's not my judgment, that's up to the treasurer. But I think that given what's been said, we could disagree with the sharing of the combination issue, but it is the town, it is the town clerk's right to control it. And so I would just say I don't know, that's what I think we should move on, is what I'm sort of kind of saying.
I think it's a good idea. I think we'll clear that out too over there. We'll start using some space.
Okay, let's move forward. We have a report, a transportation meeting report.
Yeah, I went up to Grace Cottage, sponsored by United Way and Wyndham Regional Commission. Matt Mann was there, and he talked about transportation on Route 30. And the way, I believe, Todd, they talked to you, have they, about using buses? So what the whole point is that we're a very rural area, and we need, with aging, they talked about access for the people at Valley Care and Grace Cottage to be able to get down to Brattleboro and whatnot. So Connecticut River Transport was there, Betty Boop bus was there.
But Gloria, could you summarize a little bit? The individuals we don't need to know, I don't think. In terms of, you could summarize what the main thing we need to know as a select board?
That we need transportation on Route 30, that it is an economic factor for the town of Newfane, and essentially that's all.
So but there's not anything actionable items by our select board on that. That's what I'm asking about. Did something come out of it that we can do something about?
At some point when we have time, I'll talk about it.
Excuse me? I don't understand you.
I'm reacting because I was about ready to finish, and you stopped me and took 2 minutes to tell me I couldn't talk. So when and if you think that it's okay for me as a select board member reporting on a meeting that I went to on my own time, then I'll do it.
I'd like to point out a couple things, Gloria. Anything you do on that everybody is sitting at this table is doing everything they're doing at their own time. You're sitting next to Chris Droop, who's doing things. So that is not, you weren't doing it as clown clerk, you're doing it as select board. And the select board is always our own time. I was only saying, which I asked you explicitly in an email direct to you, to please give us a summary. When we get into details of fine details, it does take time, and I, as chair, have a responsibility to move the agenda. That is all I am doing. It does not require an emotional reaction. So what I'm asking you to do is not to say, I'll talk about it when you allow me to, which is the way you've approached it, but I am asking you to summarize what is actionable by the select board or that the select board needs to understand.
The answer to that is nothing.
Then why did you put it on the agenda?
For information for what Wyndham Regional and United Way were doing to try to help us economically and to help the residents of the town of Newfane. Tied into this could be, should be, coming back to putting a park and ride, because we had the grant for that. I would like to see us continue with that. And of all the odd things that I said to them is that we need public rest facilities in the town of Newfane. If we don't have the buses going any longer. Marilyn talked about that and said that, you know, they stop at the Guilford or the Welcome Center and they bypass Newfane. So actionable items would be to go back for the grant on the park and ride, and that could become a bus stop for people to be able to get down. They're including kids from Leland and Gray as part of that, get down to do things in Brattleboro.
Okay. And do you want to pursue that? Or would some other member of the board wish to pursue it? I'm not saying you have to.
Todd, weren't we just about ready to have that park and ride done when Irene?
I think we got the money for it. I don't know where it is. It's like 25,000, I believe.
Yes, we do.
We
have it.
received the money?
No,
Oh.
we got the grant. But
It's
we
good
didn't.
for so many years.
Yes.
2 years, I think.
Well, if we did receive money for a park and ride, that certainly, you know, or could receive it, I certainly think we should
We
pursue
were
it.
supposed to have paved the parking lot.
That's what it
But we
was.
got
That
hit
was
by Irene, sort of delayed a lot of things.
We could include it in the paving for this year, probably.
I thought the parking lot paving was part of the deal when
I
they
did.
messed up the bid a bunch of years ago.
When they did what?
I thought they had made a concession of giving us the,
Oh, that's the lane
But
construction.
I think it was going to be done, but then Irene hit, and it just got done. So how do we go about, John, pursuing that?
Well, I think what it requires first is a little research, and I would be very happy if you would do that research, Blair, if you would look into seeing what steps, or I'm asking you, but it could be someone else. I'm not
Yeah.
requiring that it be
For
you.
the grant, for the park and ride grant, yes, we had a layout of the parking lot and what it was supposed
Could
to be
be
for.
Pat, but we probably would need some help from someone on the board.
So you have a file on that?
On the park and ride.
So if the two of you could work a little bit to put together what we've got, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, the next is because there was this is a piece of new business I am adding, which is there was some discussion that went on in an email about posting the audit report. I just want to make sure that was resolved. Is it resolved that we will post the audit report or not?
We certainly can. The question we should raise tonight is, do we want to post that on the website? Do we want a note on the website that says to the public, the audits are completed and can be obtained by coming into the town office?
Yeah,
That's
I
the
think-
discussion.
I have 4 copies ready for people. They're on the counter.
Uh-huh. I think it's just a posting that they are available in the town's clerk's office would probably, would be sufficient.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do that when I
Yes.
Yes.
do other web?
Yes, I would definitely think that would be good. Okay, great. The next, and that concludes new business. Now going to old business, the Wiswell Hill culvert bids. Chris, I think that's your.
We had another kickoff. We had a kickoff by this. We are about ready to go out to bid on this. I think, Pat, we're preparing to set up an advertisement for the bids. I did want to have you, Todd, review the scope of work on that and just make sure that There's nothing that we have any worries about. One of the things in the kickoff meeting that I understand is if the scope of work is changed in any way, it's going to create a real problem with this grant money. So but I want to make sure that what we have listed in here is what we feel we should do before we start digging.
Did you get hold of Dan?
Oh yeah.
And that's in there, what he said is in there.
It appears to me from what he understands, yeah. Yeah.
Sally sometime.
So I actually copied those for you. So you can, but as long as we're okay on that, then we're just going to go ahead and put it out to bid. And it should be a fairly straightforward process, I would think.
When we're saying the Wiswell Hill culvert, what, are we talking going up to Dennis's, that,
No, John Long.
John Long's, just John's?
Is it the stone culvert too, or just John Long's?
Well, that's what one of my confusions was, because I thought it was two. Is that correct?
It could be the stone culvert, which is a shame, because it's a beautiful
Well,
stone
I
culvert.
kind of heard that in the background, and so my concern is you could go low. In other words, if you decided that we shouldn't do the stone culvert, we could go in for the other portion of that grant. But I really want to be sure, because I had some understanding maybe that stone culvert is historical.
Could be.
Now, did that, I know part of the road went out right next to it, but that didn't pull
That
the,
stayed there. Courtney rebuilt part of it
yeah.
a few years ago.
Okay.
I don't know, I'll look at this.
Well, yeah, we'll confer on it.
All right, so it's not, you're not ready to put it out to bid until you're confident is that you've got the I's dotted and T's crossed on the matches.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, and you're going to work with Todd to make sure everything's
We'll do that, but as we stand right now, we could actually do an advertisement and run it for even a month if you wanted to, but I think before the advertisement went in, the scope of work must be defined for these contractors that want to bid.
Right. Okay. So you're going to work on it with
Yep,
Todd?
absolutely.
Okay. The next is the 100 bids opening has been postponed again to May 2nd. Do we think that's going to happen?
No, it's May 16th.
It's May 16th?
There's a reason for that.
Okay.
We're going to do a dual site visit for both bridges.
With Mary Andy's or?
Well, it'll be Mary Andy's, V-Trans, Todd Manise.
Okay, the whole gang.
The whole
right.
gang.
Okay.
And I think it's May 2nd or May 3rd?
May 3rd.
May 3rd at 10 o'clock.
Okay. It is set for 10?
Yes.
Are we meeting here?
No, we're going to meet at the site.
At which site? At the Hunter
We're
Bridge
going to
site?
start at Hunter Brook, and the big thing that's going to happen here is we need to re-look at, first and foremost, all the hydrology reports. So that's what we're going to tackle first.
Okay.
And I do believe by the end of the day we'll have a plan.
Okay.
There's a lot of determination to have a plan in place, so I think
Yes,
we're
I
going
see
to
a
do
lot
it.
of people who want this to happen.
Yes.
All right.
So we held the bids off, the bid openings off, because SVE will be at Hunter Brook,
Okay.
obviously. If there's any other addendums that need to be done, we have sufficient time to get those to the bidders and hopefully have those corrections done before bids close on the 16th.
Okay.
I'm going to make a prediction that'll be our last. This will be the last time we postpone the
Well,
bid.
because everyone seems to understand
Yeah.
that we're paying a lot of money every month. That,
Yeah.
Or
3,700?
yeah, that or
Yeah.
FEMA is hopefully. And at least Mary Andy's put it that FEMA's getting antsy about paying, not that they're going to refuse to pay. But we still haven't really gotten confirmation from them
Right.
that they will. Okay, thank you. Next is the Grubbings report summary. I'm not sure what the status is of getting Grubbings. Now, I don't know, Gloria, were you looking? I don't know who was looking into.
Yeah, Mark I talked with Mark Pickering when you were here, talking about the
Oh, yes, I saw you
Bridges.
again too, yes.
and he said that he will get back to me when at a time that we can just go. They will definitely, they can do the calculations, that's not a problem. But we've got to coordinate with the fact that we'll have to probably come up with 25% matching. Did he tear that down to like 10% when it finally gets done?
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
did. But
So I won't know an amount.
Okay. But is he will get back to you, or you will get back to him?
He's going to get back to me.
I just knowing
But I'll-
how
yeah.
how he gets backed up with all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff, you probably have to ping him. And the other thing is that remember we do have some that we can use from the garage, so we may not have to use some of this stuff we could use there. And there's a limited amount of space where we can put it, because it's really just the side beside within the town right of way, because we don't own the properties.
Right. But we can do it not only that small place, but also down after the Lynn's home, where all of that. So
Okay.
when I went out and I looked at with long-term recovery people, I went out yesterday, and if we could get the grubbings in, we've got teams that could smooth things out and do plantings, but there's a lot of coordination.
Okay, well, whatever you can do to move that forward would be terrific, because it would be nice to have nice green stuff before the, what do you call them, the Japanese rotweed says, hey, what a nice place.
Grows every year, not just knocked down, grows again. Very simple to maintain.
Beautiful, easy maintenance. See, Todd, she's
One thing,
just...
just a point of interest though, is that I've been thinking about is we gotta be careful, because John and I were at a meeting, and then it ended up being 3 of us at that meeting.
Yeah.
And it wasn't warned, so just so.
Yeah, that was very brief, but
I'm just-
I thought of it after. All I wanted to do was have him come in.
No, you're right. It's something we have to be careful about. Fair enough. Hickey Bridge.
Another joke.
Yeah, the joke is on us, unfortunately.
It's gonna cost them some money.
So what is our situation at the moment? Chris, can you update us a little on that?
Todd, you're on a. Can you do it? Because you're a little bit more ahead. Yeah,
Well-
he took over.
Oh,
I
good.
didn't take over, I just had him go look at it.
I know.
Yeah.
That's good.
John and Mark are very concerned that the river did not get built back up.
Yeah.
For 2 reasons. One, it's going like this into the Rock River, which is just going to keep undermining it more.
Mm.
They said the same thing that Todd and me says, it needs to be built up so that the riprap's over the abutments, or the
Yeah.
bottom of the abutments. And that needs to taper down slowly into Rock River to slow the water down.
Right, but this is one where we're caught.
We got paid by FEMA, or we're supposed to get paid by FEMA just to dump what they call slurry, which is basically cement. And the rocks are there now. And John Alexander and Mark Pickering both said the same thing. Todd needs this. That's a joke. That is never going to work.
Right. That's pretty obvious.
And if we do the other, FEMA won't pay.
Right. The town will end up footing the bill.
Which was quite a bit of money, if I recall, right?
Yeah.
We'd have to get estimates again, send it out to bid, and then with the stipulation that we're basically looking for bids, but doesn't mean we have the money to pay for it.
It's really a mess, because we'll lose the money we got from FEMA.
Right.
And and this is a small project, so if we open it up, it opens up all the small. They really have
Oh,
you
they got you.
between,
They got you on
between
this
a
one.
rock and a hard place. And
Todd was supposed to be working on this through Dan, so maybe
so maybe they can work some magic, but
you get a hold of Dan right now. Just ask him,
I think that's a good idea.
put the squeeze on Todd Lee's again to get something resolved here.
see if we can get.
Well,
There's a
maybe
flood
we'll
right
add
over that
Hickey Bridge while we're standing right there in Hunter Brook for this other one. Let's talk about
Yeah,
it.
let's-
Todd Mays will be down here on the
Right.
2nd.
We'll try to deal with it right
Yeah.
in the same area. So let's try to deal with all on the third.
Third bridge.
Third, the May 3rd, though.
May 3rd.
This is gonna be right in the same spot.
Otherwise, we'll. Okay. Hazard mitigation round 5. Any new things we want to propose for hazard mitigation?
You know that Chris Campany talked to me again about, getting money for the office. And does anybody know, anybody who has any, basically he's saying right now we could even have just narratives about flooding in here. So we don't have to have the pictures, and we certainly don't have to have receipts. Does anybody know anybody who could testify to the fact that there's been flooding here
I think Eddie Drew's got a lot of pictures of the flooding here.
from previous?
Yeah,
Okay,
not just this last one, but like 3 or 4 years ago when he came down Route 30.
yeah.
And I
Carolyn
think-
Coleman might
I
also.
think Pete Van Loon might be another one that has a whole bunch of pictures of that.
So,
There's plenty of a history there.
so,
If not, Eddie Drew Jr. might have him from WW. So.
Okay.
So, Gloria, I think it would be, if you could see if there's any, if you don't mind, seeing what you could collect in terms of evidence, it might
Yeah,
be
that's
worth a
what-
shot.
I could look in the garage. I don't know if there are any pictures there or not, but the fire department might have pictures too. I'll have to look.
Okay,
And Chris
worth
said
checking, because,
Can't
it's another round, they're still,
Yeah.
trying to do stuff, so certainly worth a shot. Okay, HMGP, property closeouts, bid opening. What are we really, is this for the, what is this for?
This is the
The
attorney.
attorney, the legal?
Oh.
So do we have
Right.
bids to open?
We have no bids. It was advertised, nothing came in, no calls were
Okay.
made, so I called Rich Para, who we usually use, and he's agreed to work with us on the closeouts.
Okay, we tried,
We've
right?
done it, yeah.
So we
did
have
what we
the
had to do.
paperwork that
Okay,
would prove to, yeah.
Okay, good, yeah, be sure to save the pictures of the ads or whatever they are. Great. Newfane Economic Development, is that, Gloria, is that you? I don't know. Not sure what, I
Yeah.
think you had requested this before the agenda, yes.
We had a email from Anthony Summers,
Right.
and Anthony Summers, again with the Long-Term Recovery Committee. So he's given dates, and I compiled a list of Newfane businesses and had Doris check and put more of them on there. John would want to meet, and he's told me dates. So it's essentially, again, trying to see what can we do for the economics of this town. And I think it behooves us to do that now that the
Yeah.
Newfane Business Association is no longer there. I did talk to the new owners of Fieldstone Lodge, and they're very interested in that.
Okay.
So I'll just put out information to see, we could have a couple of meetings, is what this Anthony said, to just brainstorm ideas of improving Newfane's economy.
Okay, let's see what they come up with. Okay. The last is the town vault lock change. I think that what we did some research, Chris and I had done it, I know Gloria had done some, and strictly speaking, there is no, the statute is very limited. This is really just a report on this. It says there really isn't a decision to be made here. But that, it just said the vault's purpose is to protect the town records. That is its primary purpose. That makes it kind of the purview of the town clerk, though commonly that information is shared with they speak of key as opposed to so it is really the opinion of the Secretary of State as opposed to a statute, but they do say, as insofar, and I'm just read it, insofar as the town clerk is solely responsible for the care and preservation of records of the town, the clerk is responsible for the security of the vault, and it is up to her, it's interesting that they assume a female, to control access to the vault. We generally recommend that the combination be given to the clerk's assistant as well as to the local fire chief, police chief, and or the chair of the select board, so that in the event of an emergency, the appropriate personnel can ensure the security of the records. That's just That's not a law, that's an opinion, but the bottom line is that it is in the town clerk's purview and not, and so that's it. There's no unfinished business. We have the administrative assistant's report.
Okay. 36 Goldenwood Road update. This was a January issue, and it was turned over to the town health officer. And last week I did a follow-up for his findings of his report that he sent to us in January 24th. And the septics on the septic system, the field septic system, surfacing sewer, fire and electrical safety, and other issues. An email was received from the town health officer stating that he will investigate the findings with the state agencies who have agreed to take over the investigation.
Okay.
Openings for the committees, and there are a few that are posted on our website of opening positions, which two are planning commission, and the other is
DRB, possibly?
yes, two alternate DRBs. And we had two residents that came into the office, Pat and Al Weisberg. They have asked to be Pat for Planning Commission and Al to be a DRB alternate. So I forwarded that information to the committees, asked them to review their requests, and they will get back to us for our May 2nd to make that recommendation if they so desire to have these two people join their committees. Okay, and we did already report on the fireproof file cabinet.
Good.
The town audit, 10 copies have come into the office from Sullivan and Powers, and the audit copy is now in a PDF file should the select board decide to have that put on our website. VLCT workshop, that I attended that workshop last Saturday, put on by VLCT in Rutland, Vermont. Jim Barlow's presentation on open meeting law compliance was very informative. I also enjoyed the presentation by the VLCT risk management staff on prevention of embezzlement, bonding, and internal financial controls.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, just a couple little pieces of correspondence to make sure everybody's aware of. There is a Vermont Emergency Management and Homeland Security Irene conference call on April the 19th, 3 to 4 p.m. I certainly,
Tomorrow, right?
that's tomorrow, would hope that you could,
Yeah.
that Chris would be on that call. Can
Yes,
you?
I will be.
Chris will be. Was there a conference call that you were on this week?
Yes.
Yes.
That was the kickoff for the
Oh, that was the kickoff.
infrastructure.
Okay, great. So Chris, if there are more than this, strictly speaking, if there are more than two of us on, if anyone is other than Chris is going to be on it, please inform Pat so she can track that we don't break the open meeting law. I also, that SEVEDS is having a meeting. I don't know if everyone is aware of this. SEVEDS is getting input in terms of regional input from the community, and the Brattleboro, this is actually might be of interest to the public as well. There's a meeting in Brattleboro on Thursday, April 25th at 6 p.m. If anyone is interested in it, take a look at the SEVEDS workshop website if you're interested, and remember that we voted in town meeting to authorize $5,100 to SEVEDS, so it's a healthy chunk, so we really want to be sure that they're kind of doing their job. So I would recommend people participating. This announcement is somewhat interestingly useless, but today's the 18th, right?
Yes.
So the WRC had a couple workshops, but they were tonight.
Yeah.
So it'd be difficult for us to be in two places at once. We're still working on being in two places at once and haven't succeeded. And I'm still looking for, I think you should have cars that, space cars that fly, and then you solve your traffic problems. And with restrooms too. I did get a notice about the Vermont, from the Emergency Management and Homeland Security about having our emergency operations plan in place, but I believe we have our emergency operations plan in place, so I think we are fully in compliance with that. I believe that concludes our regular business, and I want to thank the public for attending and the select board members for soldiering through. And we'll go into now, we would like an executive session, a movement to go to executive session for zoning.
I make a
and
motion that we go into
legal.
executive session for
Legal, it's
legal
really,
considerations, yeah.
And we invite Merle Tessier.
and we're, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, so the motion and Pat. So we have a motion on the floor to do that. Is there a second? It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will give everybody a chance to.
Thank you.
So we need a motion to come out of executive session.
I move to come out of executive session.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're now out of executive session, 8:45 p.m., and we've just come out of executive session. Do I hear a motion coming out of executive session?
I would like to make a motion that we request the administrative assistant to contact the health officer regarding an issue that has come up that may involve some potential litigation, and we will await a report from the health officer before moving further on this matter.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion
I want to write
passes
that for her.
unanimously of the members present.
It's
Okay.
very articulate, fast.
We also do need a motion to accept the contract for the SVE Associates. They are the winning bid. So do I have a motion to sign the contract with SVE Associates?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion, did you abstain for any reason, or you just, you're, okay, so it passes unanimously.
Were we gonna meet with them before we
We
sign that?
were, but apparently Chris has. That's where it's,
We got that, you sure that's all in writing?
well
It's
then,
as good as we're gonna get. Yeah,
okay, hold on. Well,
Okay.
I'm sorry. We
Yeah.
got our sequence screwed up here because we're having discussion. So let's, if we get back off from the
Yeah.
vote, it appears there is a need for
I'm
discussion.
yeah.
After what's going on in 100 Brook Bridge, if we don't have everything down in Lynch Bridge, we're gonna be paying for this again. You sure you got everything down?
No, I mean, not enough.
There is no, I mean, to be blunt, there is no clause stating how soon they have to complete the work. And there is no penalty, obviously, if there is no clause. Is that acceptable to the board? And Chris, we are relying a lot on you, so I'd like to hear your thought process on it.
Well, the only thought that I had is the board had made a motion to accept this bid. Okay? And that is the contract. Now, we can sit with Peter and ask for a revision of that contract, but it's gonna require the rest of the board members to physically read the contract. That's number one. I have discussed the issues that I'm concerned about. One is the time factor, and one is the workability on this. And as you know, I'm pretty much staying on top of it. So to the extent possible. The one issue I brought up was the information coming as it should be set for FEMA. And I do realize that SVB does not have the same capability as a much larger engineering firm. And at this point in the game, I think we already have what we can handle the FEMA aspect of it, I think,
Well,
at
I
this
just
point.
think I think we should have a cover letter in there that says that that contract will cover anything that involves FEMA. It's gonna cover any crane work that needs to be done, so I can do that again. That type of stuff. I mean, we're spending more money now on Hunter Brook Bridge because they forgot to put a crane in there, right? He went and designed the bridge, and we don't know if FEMA's gonna pay for it or not now because it may be too long, or he didn't design it to the original. Instead of going to FEMA and saying, he's had plenty of time to go to FEMA and say, you know, what length of bridge are we building here? You're only gonna pay for what was there, which is what they've been saying. And if that's the case, how are you gonna design the river to come back? See what I'm saying?
I
And
do.
he's had a year and a half to get this done, and he still hasn't done it. That's my only concern. I want to make sure that everything he does from now on that's his. If he forgets to do it, then he's going to pay for it, not the town.
But is the problem that, I mean, is it his responsibility to go to FEMA, or is that our responsibility to have the
He's
specs?
engineering the bridge.
No, I understand, but do
Before he
they
can engineer a
usually,
bridge, he should know how long that bridge is going to be.
isn't that what we,
So, let me say the best that I can say here, okay?
I'm not trying to make a hard time on this.
This is
I'm
Lynch
just-
Bridge Engineering. We're already in on Hunter Brook, okay? Seriously. That's the whole idea of this coordinated meeting on May 3rd. Because we're going to run, and we'll pull Hickey into that conversation as well. I mean, boy, if we don't have this thing down by the time we get done with this meeting, I quit. I mean, you know.
Again, I'm just, after what happened with Hunter Brook and how long it's taken them to do that, just want to make sure, and I know you've been on top of it, but we got to make sure that he keeps rolling.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess my feeling a little bit is I did think we were going to meet with them, and accepting a bid is not the same as signing a contract. So
Right.
we could have pre-contract said, I understand we've had a gazillion things to deal with, and Chris has been wonderfully juggling them and handling them. I'm ready to sign it based on the fact that, because it was Chris who initially alerted us to the issues, and if she's feeling comfortable with signing, as opposed to the alternative is saying, no, we're not going to sign, we need you to come in here and we need to talk to you. That's the alternative, is to say that the board was not comfortable with signing it without a termination date and without a conversation. I'm fine either way, to be honest with you, and I'm totally happy, but I'm hearing what Todd's saying, and I understand it. We did want him. That was what we originally thought we would do.
how much would this delay us if we wanted to meet with them and have that done?
We wouldn't be able to meet with them until the 5th. The next meeting is the 2nd of
Well, we could
May
have to,
2nd.
we
But
could call an
but we could
emergency.
call an emergency.
Now, I guess if I lean a little bit with Chris here. That is to say, if she's feeling like willing to go with this, but I do certainly hear your concerns. I understand.
Let me put it
Yeah.
to you this way. This is already the contracted engineer on Hunter Brook. We're dead in the middle of it. I mean, at this point, we're not going to pull out of that one. If we've got somebody that we can work with, they're close by, then we force the work to make it happen.
Yeah, if you
We can
feel
still sign that, we
Yeah.
can always still have them come to a meeting.
right,
Yes,
well,
absolutely.
definitely can have them come to a meeting, and we definitely
Absolutely.
can hold their feet to the fire in other ways,
Mm-hmm.
such as and I think, and we said overtly in the pre-bid meeting that 2 months from the point of
Yes.
the bid being accepted, well, really from the signing of the contract, we would expel. I think the expectation is clear and we may really need, they have a pretty boilerplate contract here.
Yeah.
I think, personally, I guess that's why I say I lean to sign.
It's fine.
All right, so is there any further discussion?
Do we have a motion on the floor?
We actually, yes, we do have a motion to sign the contract. We actually got to the vote. We've gone back a step. All right, so the motion is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I don't, Lori, did you vote or abstain?
Oh, I said aye.
I just didn't hear. Okay, motion passes unanimously of members present, so we can sign it. That moves to pay orders.
Yep.
Okay. Now we'll sign